Hi, I'm Mark and welcome to my channel. In this channel I try and have a conversation about a range of topics that I've certainly experienced firsthand, but also from the other side of the fence, seeing what happens in organisations, and particularly to people who maybe trust a bit too much and believe all the things that they're told by people like HR and others. So the title of this video is Don't Trust HR. Which is a pretty strong term, but I think it's meant to just encourage you to really question what you've been told and to do your own checks. And in my term, I'd like to say what what I'm trying to encourage is for everyone um, to develop their bullshit meter. Go have a really good BS meter, um, or a sniff test, or whatever you like to call it, to see if what you've been told, really stacks up. So by all means, listen to what you've been told at work, but also do your own checks and balances and um, have a healthy sense of skepticism, I'd say. That's probably the most important thing. And I wore a particular t-shirt today, um, which you might have seen in the thumbnail, but it's I've Got Your Back, one of my favourite t-shirts. Um, and I think that sums up a lot of what you're told sometimes in workplaces, by HR or managers. Look, trust us. We've got your best interests at heart. Um, we'll keep you up to date. We'll communicate, all that sort of stuff. But what they're not really telling you is a whole lot of stuff's going on behind the scenes that you're not exposed to or aware of, which will impact on you. So you have to read between the lines. So just on the topic of HR, I've had a very mixed relationship with HR, both personally in organisations, but also professionally, and they're probably one of the few professions that I do trust. And the reason for that is that their main stakeholder, their main um, source that they're trying to please is the owners or the managers of the organisation. They're put in charge of HR because human beings are not as predictable as machinery or technology. And so they're there to somehow put some constraints around human beings and to put them to work the way the owners or the managers want to have them do that. They certainly come across as friendly, caring, all those sort of things. But always be very wary about what they say and take it as a grain of salt. Um, if there's information they're providing, that may be accurate. But when it comes to your well-being and your interests, um, be very sceptical of what they're trying to say to you. I affectionately sometimes refer to them as inhuman resources because they can be um, uh, two-faced. They can say something's private, confidential, and then go and tell managers or other people without your knowledge. So that's what I mean, is that they can be um, not always trustworthy. I've got a bit of a noisy cockatoo behind me, so maybe he agrees with me. I'm not sure. Um, yeah. So even if one of the downsides of workplaces, whether it be with HR people or managers or even co-workers, is that particularly if you've been there for a while, you can develop friendships, work friendships. You can socialise together, go out, do sporting things together, whatever, and it can feel like they're kind of friends. And rare times they do become friends, even if you leave the organisation. But once again, just be really careful about believing that this person feels like a friend, therefore they're going to look out for me and have my back. Well, a lot of people's experiences, not just mine, is that that doesn't stack up. And when push comes to shove, um, you can easily be pushed under the bus, literally, to save somebody else's neck. So really, I wanted to do this video to just share some of my 30 plus years experience of what goes in organisations and how you can protect yourself, and also predict some of the changes that are like early warning signs about you need to really get your skates on and prepare for change, whether it be changing your organisation, um, getting ready for having to apply for your own job or another job, but most likely actually get ready for unemployment. That you're going to be shown the door and you're going to have to prepare to get another job or some other sort of thing. So I wanted to share some observations that I picked up that could be early warning signs that your organisation are going through some changes that could mean job losses, particularly yours. So one would be the appointment of a new CEO. CEOs have a very short lifespan. Nowadays it can be 12 months, 2 years, maybe longer if they're lucky, but not very long at all. So the arrival of a new CEO usually means one of their first things, well, there are two things that CEOs can do really in their job to improve performance. One is to reduce costs, the other is to increase revenue. The quickest and easiest way that they can prove themselves to the board or the owners is to reduce costs. So it's not surprising that soon after CEOs come on board that costs are the sorts of things that they look at, um, including people costs, because people costs are usually the highest costs. So my work is as a manager, as a employee assistance advisor. Um, this is often the pattern. New CEO, they review, they look at the costs, and then they put a ruler through things that they want to cut out. Part of those, cost-cutting exercises, also preparing for a smaller workforce, is if you catch wind of the organisation is going to relocate buildings. Any talk of that, that can also mean job losses or change can be afoot. A lot of the day-to-day costs can be challenged. Travel costs, expenditure on items to do with work. If you see changes in those, then that's also a sign that more scrutiny is being placed on expenditure and costs. Um, Depending on where you are in the world, leave can be something that builds up as a liability for organisations. So if people don't take their leave and they accumulate it, that can be an exposure to the business. So once again, if you're getting pressure or managers, HR are saying you need to take leave because you've built up so much leave, that's another sign that costs and the financials have really been looked at. Things like mergers, if your company organisation is merged or being bought out by somebody else, that's another sign. But something that happens beyond the walls of your company that is worth keeping abreast of, if you're not already, is read the media news reports about your industry. Be aware of the share price of your company if you're on the listed on the stock market. You want to know how your organisation is performing, but also your sector, the industry. So if you're in the Resources sector, mining, oil and gas, you want to know what the price of iron ore is, or precious metals, or oil. Um, is it a good time for companies, or is there a downturn? Because those things also sign or indicate there could be pressure on your company to do more on costs. Um, the tech sector in recent times there's been a lot of layoffs with the upturn on AI. That's an example where it's not so much the marketplace, but a new technologies come in and it's putting pressure on jobs, and people who otherwise would have been able to get a lot of work have really struggled to do that. So that try and join the dots between changes externally and how they might affect you ultimately through your organisation. So this is part of the bullshit meter is really trying to be your own best advocate, seeing these warning signs. A bit like driving down a highway, you see a sign saying hazard or some sort of potential danger down the road. Better to have some forewarning and prepare for that, because that gives you an opportunity to yeah, plan your plan B or your exit so that it's not such a shock to you and your family.